Do you guys like the lights? I hope you do, because otherwise I don't know what else I can make happen. The thing is, I do believe it's a lot better than before, where it was just a white wall behind me. And now I look like a professional Twitch streamer. I wanted to choose the color of YouTube. I wanted to choose red, but it made the room look like a brothel. So this is what I got. It is pure pain. Yes, I got the Twitch thought lights. I should look at what other Twitch streamers use. What does Hasan Piker? Hasan Piker! What does he use? What colors does he use? Apparently he was walking at TwitchCon, threatening a kid, saying that he will kick him out of the convention just because he looked at him. You know, like let's actually enjoy that. Let's hold on. We gotta look a little bit at I gotta just dodge the light so I can see the monitor. But I want to show you something. I didn't expect that the conversation would arrive to this, but look. Looky here. Look here, you bigot. Okay, so this is a Hasan Piker.
Hey guys. That's so fucking whack, dude.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
I sprayed him.
So he talks about how he sprayed a kid or someone else.
Oh, I was like, hey, you want a reaction? Here you go. I fucking sprayed him in the face.
Like someone asked him for a reaction and he immediately sprayed them in the face.
What are you looking at, bro? You want to get kicked out? Is that what you want? Is that what you want a reaction? No. You want to get kicked out of the event?
So literally, like like, this guy didn't do anything, right? Like he's walking, and Hasan Piker just harasses him. It's like, the fuck are you looking at, bro? You want a reaction? You want to get kicked out? Is that what you want? You want to get kicked out? Like, this is so surreal, right? Like he's walking like he owns the place. He probably does. I mean, let's be honest. And this little kid, you know, comes up here, like minding his own business. Like, what are you looking at? It's all, you know what this reminds me of? When I grew up in the hood, in the streets, in the dangerous area of town, there were a lot of mafioso, gangsta. And it was usually the people that just got into the business, just got nominated as a gangsta. And they had to prove their worth. They had to show their worth. So the way they would do it is like, the fuck you looking at? Like, like, come on, challenge me, bro. And you want to challenge me? You want to see what I would do? Yes, this is the case. Vegans disproportionately would be depressed. Keep in mind, the brain operates on cholesterol fat that cannot be gotten from plant. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, good to talk about. But you know, like, this whole thing with leftists being compassionate and tolerant and all of that. I don't think that Hasan is a leftist. I don't think that Hasan is a communist. I think he's mad with power. I think he's a rich, spoiled person acting exactly like you would expect a person who got rich quick. You know, like people with rich parents, like people who, like, hey, I'm gonna call my daddy if you don't misbehave. My daddy will beat up your daddy. That type of people. That is Hasan Piker. I just, like, there is nothing that can contradict my opinion of him. Does Hasan own Twitch stock? I don't know. I mean, he is a progressive socialist individual. Do socialists use stock? Probably. I don't know. Hope you didn't get too badly shafted down in London. Come to Yorkshire and we'll treat you. I do plan on making a vacation in London without the missus so I can meet some of the fans. But I would not stay in London. Yeah, I would probably go into another British area. Like, here's the thing. I said this on the previous stream in case you missed it. You know, every single airport, and this is like something that I noticed in the comments section, like someone just didn't get it. It really annoys me when I try to hammer a point through. But for some reason, I'm not explicit enough, and then people don't understand what I've been saying. So, every single airport has outrageous prices. Kind of makes sense, right? Because like if you're a person that's changing planes, you can't shop anywhere else, and you're stuck there for hours. So people will shop and they will pay outrageous amounts. Like that makes sense. So in Romania, at the airport, like all the prices when I went there, I was shocked about how expensive everything goes, right? Like 4 times, 5 times more expensive. Then I go to London and I see the prices there. And when I finish my trip at London and I come back to the Romanian airport, I was like, why is everything so fucking cheap? Like, you know, like after spending 4 days in London, the Romanian airport looked as if it's dirt cheap. It was like they were giving things away for free. That's how I perceived it. So, London is one of the most expensive places on earth, and it's like a shopping mall. In an entire city, that's a shopping mall. People described it like New York, but with more conservative buildings and more conservative architecture. And, of course, stabbings rather than shootings. Because they did ban the guns. But they didn't fix the problem. Bottle of water at London airport, $20. No, that's a bottle of Coke, actually. No, a bottle of Coke at London airport is probably $20. Yeah. Lighting and background is slowly getting there. Dude, I've tried. I'm doing my best. One of the first things people who go see, this is another thing which really annoys me. It's like there's vegetarians and carnivores. No, that's not correct. There's vegetarians and omnivores. I don't know many people that just have a carnivorous diet. I mean, you can, but like I don't know someone that goes out of their way to avoid eating vegetables. Now, there are a couple of illnesses and diseases where a doctor can prescribe to you an actual carnivorous diet. But those are very rare cases, right? Like human beings are omnivores. Very similar to pigs. Believe it or not. This is actually why the transplant for an aorta, an aorta is the artery which connects the heart. Right? You can do a pig transplant. You can take a pig aorta and you can put it into a human being and it actually fucking works. There are a lot of similarities between humans and pigs, is what I'm saying. It's kind of weird though, because evolutionary, like on the evolutionary chain, we don't have that much in common, besides the fact that we're mammals and we're omnivores. But, right, so I do not appreciate saying that, oh, meat eaters. No, that like don't use their language. Their language. Okay, use the proper thing. Omnivores. Like we are eating plants and meat. And in fact, the healthy way of eating is to have 75% vegetables and only a supplement of meat. Especially in today's industry where most of the meat isn't organic. Like they pump those chickens with hormones and other shit. Pump them with antibiotics. Feed them corn. So, yeah, just take into account that the perfect balanced diet is mostly vegetables, and then you supplement that with meat. It is not a lie, EBN666. I am telling you the truth. So, meat and fat, small portions of fat. No, that is a lie, EBN. You are lying to the chat. You are lying. By the way, every time you talk about diet, like, do this as a test, okay? No matter how you talk about diet, there will be a person that's like, yeah, you are flat out wrong. And it's like, literally, they rip their shirt off. It's like, because, and this is why if you actually Google something, like, are eggs bad? You're going to find a dietitian, an expert, holy fucking shit, an expert, dietitian. Oh, eggs are really bad. They're harmful. Well, don't eat eggs. Like they have cholesterol, bad. And then you'll find another dietitian that say, "Oh my God, eggs are excellent. If you wanna grow into a mucho strong man, then you need to eat eggs, right?" And sometimes dietitians go like, "Okay, well this is good. This is," and then over the next month, no, this is bad. And the reason for this is that the human dietary system. The human digestive system, is not mathematic. In the sense that this is why some people like pickles, some people hate pickles. Some people really like mushrooms, other people are allergic to them, right? So it's very difficult to create like what works for a person doesn't work for another. This is why actual dietitians, they specialize on the individual. So you need to actually have the person in front of you. You ask about their lifestyle. You see what type of foods they like, what type of foods they don't like. And, then you can try to create a diet based on that person's lifestyle. Like, for example, a streamer who's awake during the night is going to have a different diet than someone that's awake during the day. Right? So, this is why, yes, allergic to even the psychedelic mushrooms. But my point is, right, when it comes to nutrition, this is why people freak out. And you're going to see like a person saying, oh, well, I've been on the keto diet and it doesn't work. And then you're going to have another person that will be like, oh, yeah, the keto diet, I had it, like 20 kilograms I dropped, blah, 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 blah. It's really as different as taste. Huh? Now, there are certain genetic things that work for most people. But again, even if everyone likes vanilla ice cream, you're going to find the contrarian that prefers chocolate. So, the reason that I said the healthy diet is to eat mostly vegetables is due to the fact that throughout most of the medieval history, this is what people did. The overwhelming majority of them. So we're talking about the peasantry, even like the middle class. They would eat vegetables for most of the week. And then Saturday and Sunday, they would have some sausages. They would have some eggs. They would supplement that with some fish, right? So I'm on the opinion that if it worked for my grandmother, it works for me. Feel free to disagree, but when it comes to life choices, if you go with this, you're probably going to be fine. If it worked for your grandmother, it will work for you. The human diet should be vegetation, but meat is how we absorb the protein to gain human brain capacity in evolution. Hence, we can notice more patterns in nature than most animals. Butcher's son. I'll say the expert. His lived experiences. Butcher's son. Yes, I do agree with that. Tapeworm diet works for you? Well, I'm pretty sure it does, yes. But how do you remove the tapeworm? Sometimes it can be difficult. It might require surgery. Grandma knows best. Yes, literally. This is what I like to upset modern women with. Like, you go to a modern woman, usually on Tinder, right? Not the ones that have a boyfriend, but a single modern woman. And you ask her, it's like, so what do you want in a man? And she will be, well, I want him to be tall. And I want him to be handsome. And I want him to be charismatic. And I want him to have a university degree. And I want him to be rich and intelligent. And I want him to be compassionate and love children. Right? And they go with like a huge fucking list. Now, usually what most people say is like, oh, so, why don't you lower your standards? Huh, I would never. Misogynismus. So what I do instead is I take their list and I ask, okay, but does your father meet the criteria? And usually, overwhelmingly, the answer is no. Their father does not meet the criteria. And then you ask them, like, why can't you be more humble like your mother? No, like, your mother didn't have the list. She was a little bit more humble. And yet, she was happy, right? Or your grandmother. Does your grandfather meet the criteria that you... No, like... So like, what worked for your ancestors probably works for you, is what I'm trying to say. If it tastes good, I'll eat it, says Master Dravla. Amino acids. They can make the food taste good. Dude, I literally have all that and a woman called me hot and still turned me down. Well, the thing with women is like, the whole concept of having like the shopping list just doesn't fucking work. Like, human beings aren't a bunch of traits like an RPG character. I mean, usually if there's chemical attraction, there's chemical attraction, right? Like, even if you're a man, you can think you know what the perfect woman is, and then you can be just completely shocked and you might end up with someone different. It's not like, like, it's the same with jobs. Like, you think you know what the perfect job is, and then you find the perfect job and you realize that you don't like it. I would usually like to compare dating with a job interview, because it's literally the same shit. It's just literally the same shit. So anyway, where was I? Fuck, I forgot. Oh yes, veganism. Veganism. Do you know how annoying it is? Like, I went to London, and I went to some of the more... I can't... Okay, so I didn't go to, like, the 1-star Michelin restaurant. But I went, like, at the border between the 1-star and the non-star. And for 2 reasons. Number 1, because it was tax deductible. And number 2 is because I wanted to treat my missus. Treat her with something nice. So on 2 days we went to some famous restaurants for their steaks. And I opened the menu, and the first thing that I see are the vegan options. It's like, motherfucker, do you think I go to a... Do you think I go to a steak restaurant to order vegan? What the fuck? But no, like, the people in UK, they're obsessed with veganism. Well, promoting it. Like, I haven't seen many people eating it, alright? Like, it's the upside down. Despite the fact that the market are trying their best to tell the producers to fuck off, the vegan restaurants are trying to push it as hard as humanly possible. It's sadistic. It's kind of like, a horse getting stuck in a hole, and instead of trying to pull it out, you keep pushing it. Like, Vosh comes and pushes the horse as well. It's like, dude, it's not going to fit. It doesn't work. It's and by the way, like, another thing that really boggles my fucking mind, which is, like, seriously, this is muy problematica. If you want to be a vegan, or, you know what, not even that. If you want to eat vegetables, why the fuck would you eat something that tastes like steak? Right? Because, like, McDonald's is being shocked that the Impossible Burger and the Impossible Whopper isn't selling. Like, look, if I want to eat a salad, I would rather eat a salad. If I want to eat meat, I would eat meat. Why would you create the abomination, which is the Impossible Whopper Burger or whatever the fuck you call? Why? Why? Like, no. And Aiden, I like my meat in blood. Okay? Like, virgin, barely touching the pan. That's how I like my meat. Just barely getting acquainted to the pan before getting acquainted with my belly. That's the proper way to eat a steak. Yeah, imagine the opposite. No, seriously, right? Like, I just want to point out the supply and demand here. Like, is there a meat that tastes like a vegetable? Like, why aren't scientists trying to create a steak which tastes like a salad? Right? Because, like, if people want to eat the salad, they eat the fucking salad. Why would you eat a salad that tastes like meat? That doesn't fucking have any sense, does it? And by the way, speaking of meat, there are some people that I have no respect for. Okay? Like, if you do this in front of me, I will disrespect you. I will consider you dumb if you do this. If you order an expensive steak, or even a steak that's not expensive, you order Black Angus. Okay? Black Angus is more expensive than regular cow meat. So if you order Black Angus, or any type of expensive steak, and you want it well done, there's literally nothing we can discuss further. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, the whole point of an expensive steak is to taste the juices from it. Like, you need to taste the flavor of the meat which can only be acquired if the steak is below medium rare. If you want a well-done steak, like if you're the type of person, look, it's fine if you like well-done steak. But then why the fuck don't you buy a cheap one? Because you don't, no, seriously, if you put the most expensive steak in the world, and you make it well done, and then you put the cheapest steak in the world, and you also put it well done, no one can tell the difference. You can take Chef Gordon Ramsay and take his tongue to lick it, and he will not be able to tell which one is expensive and which one is not. I don't understand who does this, right? So I go to restaurants and I see other people around me ordering, and they're like ordering the expensive one, and it's like, expensive, well done. Motherfucker, there is no, it tastes the same, there's no reason, just order the cheap one then. Obviously, when you think about the market, is the reason why the expensive steak tastes more expensive, because there's a lot of people that are consuming it improperly. There's nothing wrong with liking burnt steak, okay? Like, if you're the type of person that has the taste buds of a child, or you're getting old and most of your taste buds have peeled away and you can't tell that, okay, fine. Just have a burnt steak. But don't order the expensive one. There's literally no reason. And then there's also the thing with wine. Like, there are people who order expensive $100 bottle of wine. Holy shit, to me it's expensive. Maybe for Americans, $100 bottle of wine is fine. Like $100 bottle, right? Like, you can order the $10 one, but you went for the 100. Okay, fine. Put it in a fucking recipient, whatever the fuck it's called, so that it can breathe for 1 hour, so that you can actually taste the $100 thing. Now, don't put it in a glass and drink it right away, because why are you doing this? No, if it's a red $100 wine, which is like vintage, 10 years, 20 years, alright? You put it somewhere where it can breathe. That's what it's called. I don't know the English terminology for it, but you're basically supposed to, you have this carafe, we call it, but it's like a Berzelius tube, like a big tube where you put the wine in, and you allow it to breathe, so you wiggle it. A decanter. A decanter, yes. You put the wine into the fucking decanter, and you wait for 1 or 2 hours, preferably in the fridge, right? And then you drink it. Why? Because you spent $100 for it. So get that money worth. Like, imagine going to watch a movie, but you're turning the computer off, and you're just listening to the sound of the movie. Just watch radio then. Decanter. I was searching for Atlantis, says Justifiably Stupid. Society said it was a city made of gold where music flowed like velvet. When I found it, I realized that the real treasure was the friend I made along the way. This is dating. Not all the people are like that, man. Like, not all people have unrealistic standards. They're having, the concept of a shopping list when they go to meet someone. I think it's mostly the Tinder mindset that's like that. And it's mostly for women. Why? Because if you're a man and you get one date every month, if at all, you don't have, the luxury to... And I noticed something else with men, right? In their mind, they grade women, right? So, they look at women, bam, a 5, bam, a 6, bam, a 7. Misogynismus, I know, but all men do this. And in their mind, subconsciously, they will say, I am not worthy of dating anything above a 7. Now, when they finally meet someone that's an 8 or a 9, they believe that it's above their level. And they get shy, they panic, they have this mental roadblock that no way is this lady going to look at me. So what ends up happening is that even if the girl is interested, you might think that the girl is above your league, but she might actually like you. You're going to mess it up. You're going to fuck it up because you're going to be nervous. You're going to be not yourself, assuming that yourself is capable of attracting a significant other. But like, so that's what I notice a lot of men doing. You know, like when you put a pedestal. So my advice is just don't think that there are women above your weight. What's the worst that can happen? She says no. Okay. Vegans kind of remind me of the activists going to Christian cake shops and trying to get them to make cakes that have pro-activist messages. No, not really. No. So the thing with the gay activists that wanted bakeries to make them cake, from my understanding, like that was targeted specifically in the hopes that they can get a lawsuit and make money. I don't see vegans do this, right? Because there's no law protecting vegans. But I'm pretty sure, like, if the government passed a law which would force every single restaurant to have vegan options, if they were to like they would specifically go and try to find a restaurant that doesn't do that so that they can sue it. I like jerky, it tastes good. I like it too, glow in the dark. Veganism might be on the way out. I'm beginning to see butter take root as the new wonder food. My wife used to be a raw vegan, and a good portion of people she follows are now talking about butter. I'll tell you what I think about that. So, you can't decant the wine into a... Shut the fuck up, Davey. Now... From my personal experience, my lived experience. By the way, lived experience bypasses the scientific consensus. It's the biggest burden of proof. In fact, it's far superior than any other burden of proof. Lived experience trumps all, right? For a left-leaning person. So from my lived experience, I haven't met a single vegan that managed to keep the diet for more than 2 years. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist, okay? I'm pretty sure there are vegans out there that can veganize for more than 2 years. And I have to say, it's not that they... we need to separate the vegans that veganize properly and the vegans that cheat by saying, oh, well, I'm a vegan, but I eat eggs and I drink milk and sometimes I eat fish. No. No. Like, pure, 100% green mean machine. And someone that's not an activist or a person online, you know, like with a following that no. Like, a friend of yours, right? Like someone that you go out with and you can know whether or not they cheat. I haven't met a single one of them that can keep the diet for more than 2 fucking years. Now, again, there might be people who can. I will agree. Like, there might, but I haven't met them. Which leads me to assume that this is why you say veganism is on the way out. Because there's a lot of vegan, right? Because you're like, oh, my wife discovered butter and blah, blah, blah. No, like the thing is, like, eventually they grow out of it. And you can see it on vegan forums as well. It's, wow, like, whenever it happens, whenever someone comes out that they can't hold the diet, holy shit. I don't know which is worse, like, people that are going on forums about essential oils and saying that they're having side effects and they're getting... rimmed by the community, or the vegan that finally comes out and says, look, I can't do this anymore. Or the transgender person going on a forum of transgender activists and saying that they regret their decision. You know, it's kind of like similar, but with different ideologies, different people, but the story sounds the same. You know, it's the same. So, you are saying that the Impossible Burger or vegan meats are not a government thing. They get tax write-off, subsidies, vegan stuff. The fad is dying. It's very difficult to tell how many people are legitimately vegans, right? Because they're very loud as a minority. And they have the support of big corporations and, as you pointed out, the government. And with this whole climate thing now, it's being strongly encouraged. So, but it is difficult. It is difficult to say how many people are. So when you say the fad is dying, I'm not sure there was that much of a fad anyway, right? So, correct me if I'm wrong, but most vegans are rich. So how do we define rich? Because this is going to be one of the first questions, right? How do you define it? I mean, it's an ambiguous question. Rich, it's subjective, right? So let's try and make rich objective. Because, yeah, like, what's rich in Romania may be rich, maybe poor in the United States. What's rich for me might be poor for you and whatever. So how do we define rich? I think the best definition of rich that we can go with today is, okay, well, actually, no. A non-rich person. So someone that's not necessarily poor, but they're not rich. How is a person that isn't rich? How do you define it? If that person, before going to the supermarket, has a grocery shopping list and they do the math with how much everything costs, and they're very concerned of not going over a certain amount because then they end up without money, that's a person that's not rich. A rich person is a person that goes to the supermarket and just put products into their shopping bag without looking at the price, right? So if you can actually go to a supermarket, whatever you want, and just put the product in, you don't look at the label, you don't look at the price, right? You're rich. Let's put it like that. Now, of course, there's different levels of rich. There's like very rich, filthy rich. Like, if you really want to go with like, like extremely rich, it's a person that has a security detail, all right? Like, if you need to have personal security, then you're extremely rich. But no, like, for the sake of the argument, we're just using the aforementioned definition, right? So if a person has to look at the price tags, then they're not rich, right? So, from my personal observation, lived experience again, all vegans are rich. I have not met a poor vegan in my fucking life. Now, again, they may exist, but I haven't met them. So I just want to know. Hey, let me start the poll here, because this is an important question. Have you met a vegan that is not rich? I want you guys to be honest. Like, all right, like, we cannot find the truth if you guys aren't being honest. So just assuming you know a vegan, right? Tell me about whether or not you think they look at the prices at the supermarket, or they just put things in the shopping bag. A lot of vegans are well off, but a bunch did it for the head pats. Betty saw it on Reddit. My sister got into it that way. Oh yeah, it is a thing about virtue. I can guarantee to you that if scientists would be able to clone meat, right? So, and there's already technology to do that. But imagine, like, you can grow slabs of meat into the lab so that no animal suffers. There's no more suffering, right? Like, you just artificially grow the meat. I know vegans that would still not eat it. Like, they would still find it abhorrent. Because, like, that is the part of virtue signaling, which is why almost entirely, overwhelmingly, most vegans are leftists. Because they also like to use social justice to virtue signal. And, like, the veganism is just a plus. There are right-wingers that are vegans, and what's interesting about them is that they don't want to brag about it. Like, I found that shocking. Do you know Black Pigeon Speaks is a vegan? Like, I didn't believe it when I heard it. It's like, what? Really? Like, and the only reason I know is because I asked. So, like, There are people who are vegans that are right-wing, but they're very rare, is what I'm trying to say. Are vegans more depressed as adults or just needy? We're going to go into that. Okay, so people actually say that there are vegans that are not rich. I mean, okay, like I'm not going to doubt that, but the reason I got fat is because I had the one meal a day, and in order to have one meal a day, you can buy something very cheap, like some sausages, some bread, a little bit of oil, and that's your meal a day, right? But it's not very healthy. Meanwhile, if you actually want to have a proper diet, well, vegetables require a lot of preparation. Like you need to spend many hours in front of the kitchen in order to have your proper diet, which, like, I don't think you can have a vegan diet that you have one meal a day, right? Now, if you're a poor person, surprisingly, at least in my country, I don't know in other places, the more poor you are, the more you work. I know it's a little bit of irony there. But yeah, like in my country, for example, a person that's a construction worker works 10, 11 hours a day. A person that's a lawyer works a lot less than that. Right? Not all the time. It's not a... But basically, like, people who work a lot... perfect example, people who are poor, students. Right? People with student debt. Like, they have to go 10, 11 hours at the university. So they don't really have the time to do all of this, but whatever. It is what it is. I guess it does keep you preoccupied, yeah. Just fry up some green peppers and onions with salt and a little bit of oil. Dude, I would be starving if I do that. Like, literally, after I finish eating, I would be starving. Ramen. Ramen does have meat, doesn't it? I guess you can make vegan ramen. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, you need around 3,000 to 4,000 calories if you do construction. Yeah, probably. I do remember the Chaz farmers. Okay, disregard what I said about hold on, let me find the study. Shit, I lost the study, chat. Yeah, but disregard what I said about the time investment. Anyway, let me put the study here. Vegans and vegetarians depressed. All right, now what I noticed is that the cultural push coming from the United States of A is that you can only experience the world through the experts. So if you remember the lady from SCOTUS, the one that was nominated, and she was asked, what is a woman? She could not answer what is a woman. Instead, she said, I'm not a biologist. Which was kind of a gaffe from her, given the fact that she is pointing out to the fact that you need to be a biologist, meaning that biology has something to do with whether or not someone is a woman or not, and that is very offensive and problematic. But what she wanted to say is that you need to ask the experts. So in this situation, it would be the queer theorist, the queer academic, right? Like, so only an expert can tell you what is a woman, right? Even though she herself knows is a woman, she's not capable of acknowledging that. You have to defer to the expert. So this is actually where the culture is going. Like, you can't know things unless an expert tells you. So the only way to experience reality is through fact checkers, experts, people that make studies, right? Like that's the only way to gain knowledge. So what you will end up having is that people will go like, oh, there's a study. There's a study saying that the water is not wet. So now you have to believe it, Because if you don't, it's misinformation. Right? So, the only people capable, and it's not so simple actually. Hold on, my bad. It's not so simple. You have the experts that do the study, but you're incapable of understanding the study. Because there are some studies that are wrong, and there are some studies that are correct. So now you have the journalist who has to read the study for you and editorialize it in order to help you understand the world. So as you can see, are vegetarians twice as depressed as meat eaters? And now you have all of these experts and that did the study. So all the journalists are coming out, editorializing and trying to find, no, that's not the case. Actually, right? And what's interesting is that it depends on the study. Like on studies that go against the cultural consensus, right? Which is now that veganism is fucking amazing. So if you have studies against that, you'll have journalists trying to debunk them and go like, well, okay, yes, but. And if you have a study that is for the cultural consensus, like babies are racist, video games cause sexism, the journalists just go along with that. And they don't try to debunk it. Right? Which, by the way, I do believe that there might be some skepticism involved on whether or not vegans are depressed. Because my lived experience, which is more stronger than any study, relates with the fact that most vegans are middle-class bourgeois people. And they're rich. And if you're rich, you're probably depressed. And I can explain why that is. Very simple. Most people, in fact, human beings, have a phenomenal way of adapting to their circumstances. And this is true for good things and it's true for bad things as well. So, for example, if you lose your legs in a car crash, believe it or not, you're not going to be depressed for the rest of your life. Like, initially, the shock is going to be there, and you're going to deal with a lot of trauma. You know, once the pain goes away, you're still traumatized by the event. However, after 10, 15 years, you get used to it, and you can still be happy, you can still have a good life. But my point is, like, people get used to their circumstances, right? So, this is the example of a circumstance that's fucked up. But people also get used to good circumstances. So, for example, if you're rich, and let's say you buy a mansion like Hasan Piker has. You don't wake up every day. It's not pre-recorded, Joseph. Shut the fuck up. You don't wake up every single day going like, oh my god, I'm so rich. You know, you don't wake up in Hasan Piker's mansion and you go like, oh wow, like look how rich I am. Right? Because you get used to it. Which means that being rich becomes normal for you. So where am I going with this? I'm going with the fact that rich people get depressed because they don't have anything else to aspire to. You don't even have to be incredibly rich. You don't even have to be Jeff Bezos rich. But if you're rich enough to the point where anything you want, you can just have, you know, within reason. Like, you're not going to have a Ferrari or like a mansion. But if you want, like right now, to go to a expensive restaurant and have a meal, you can do it. You know, like that level of rich. If you can do that, you're going to be depressed right away. Because like there is a certain pleasure in delayed gratification. So for example, if you don't have money to buy a gaming computer, and you save money for 3 months and then you buy the gaming computer, you're incredibly happy when you finally get it. Like, it's a rush of dopamine when you finally get it and you're like, oh, I worked so hard for it. But if you're rich enough to just buy a gaming computer when you need one, like, okay, I need another computer, bam. You know, the next day you order it, it's there. You don't get that much pleasure from it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's still your computer, you work for it, but it's kind of like meh. So it's harder to find happiness when you're rich. You know, it's a lot more difficult. When you're poor, you have a lot of things to hope for. You have a lot of things to desire. I'm not talking about owning nothing and being happy. I'm talking about the fact that when you can bypass delayed gratification for everything, you're very likely to get depressed. You are wrong a bit here. The reason people are rich is because they delay gratification. Oh, fuck off. Like, it depends on the type of rich, okay? Like, yes, some people who do investment and delay gratification, sure. But like, what about someone that grows up in a wealthy household and they don't work a day in their life because their parents take care of them? What about the people who, I don't know, work in television? Like, they just managed to land a gig. What about an actor that managed to just land? Like, how is that like, oh, well, they delay gratification? So if you're an actress and you go to the Harvey Weinstein couch and then you manage to get the role and you're making hundreds of millions of dollars, what delayed gratification are you talking about? I'm not into. I don't even know what edging is, but okay, probably. Do you want to work until you die? No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be rich, but what I am saying is that it's understandable why more rich people are being depressed. Like, you will see families that when they're poor they're more happy, and when they're rich they start arguing. Like, why do you think so many Hollywood actors have staggering divorce rates compared to the rest of the population? I mean, they're rich, they have everything. Why do they constantly go to psychiatrists treating about depression and shit? Like, maybe a Hollywood actor that doesn't constantly fucking talk about depression and how hard their life is. I don't want to know what edging is. Jesus. Maybe I'm not making myself understood. You know, maybe I just don't know how to express what I want to say. Very, very advanced. This is all pre-recording. I'm not getting the meme. I'm pretty sure there's a meme. But the thing is, like, look at the Hollywood actors, right? Like, that's the type of rich that I'm talking about. They can get literally everything. And all of the Hollywood actresses talk about being depressed and seeing their psychiatrist and talking about their depression. Why do you think that is? You know what? I'm looking at edging. Holy shit, this is getting annoying. What is edging? Edging and orgasm. What the fuck? Picking or surfing is a sexual technique where all orgasm is controlled, practiced alone. How the fuck does that come into this? No! I'm not talking about that. Oh, God. What is wrong with my chat? What is wrong with you people? I do live on Twitter, but I've never heard the concept of I'm not an encyclopedia of all the sexual degeneracy that exists on the internet. I'm sorry. I apologize for not knowing. AV, you should do that one chip challenge and show people how it's done. No. Anyway, right. So, my point is, I cannot, like, if you're the type of person that is incredibly rich and you decide to be a vegan, because this is another thing, right? Like, wait, imagine you have all the money in the world. Right? Imagine your daddy is a very wealthy person and you're at Harvard or whatever. Right? you don't really have the same desire to compete like other people. Like if you're a person that grew up in a trailer, your motivation is to get a good job so that you can get out of the trailer. Like you want to work hard. You're motivated in order to get a good job. But if you already have rich parents, then it doesn't matter if you get a good job or not. So now you have to improve your social status in other ways. Like you virtue signal. You become a progressive. You become a vegan in order to show other people how compassionate you are, right? Like you got other ways of showing off. Cause like you can't. All your friends are rich as well. You can't show off by having more money than them. They probably don't care. So you start doing all of these social virtue signals. And as I concluded before, people like that are depressed. So if you're being depressed from your lifestyle, then being a vegan, like it doesn't. It's the question: which came first, the salmonella or the chicken? So anyway, let's see what they have to say. Exactly. The journalist agrees with me. The journalist agrees with me. Is someone more likely to try out a new eating style such as vegetarianism if they're already experiencing symptoms of depression and are seeking ways to feel better? So they're already depressed and they're trying to find out new ways, to virtue signal? Could this be related to the location of the study, Brazil? And again, like, I really... No, I'm not going to look for the original study. I don't fucking care. The study's probably true. What I find interesting is that the journalists are trying to debunk it, right? Like, they're very skeptical of it. If it was a study about babies being racist or air conditioning being sexist or anything like that, they accept it right away. But when it's a study that goes against the common culture, immediately they try to debunk it. Or perhaps some participants had family history of mental health challenges. Oh my fucking god. Depression. I don't think depression is a transmissible thing. Because you can also get out of depression, it's... I don't think it's a genetical illness. Although, no, actually it can be. Like, you can be predisposed to depression. If you have, like, a hormonal imbalance or something, you kind of can. But I wouldn't say, like if you're a person that goes to a psychiatrist and you say that you're depressed, they're not going to ask, like, okay, well, do you have a family history of depression? It's not what they're looking for. It's like a cold. That is such a good fucking way to put it. So yeah, it's kind of like a cold. But the thing is, like, there may be people that have a weak immune system and they may be predisposed to cold. But even those people, like, even if you have a weak immune system, but you're always sitting in your home and you're isolated and you don't get any visitors, it's very unlikely you'll get the cold, even if you have a predisposition for it. A new study shows, and experts say, jumping off a skyscraper or taking a bath with a toast solves depression. The thing with depression is, though, okay, so it's kind of a misunderstood illness because it's very, I can't say promoted, but it's very trendy. It's kind of like all the actresses, they talk about, oh, I'm depressed. And even though they're millionaires and billionaires, everyone's like, oh my god, oh, that's so sad, right? It's kind of like the thing. It used to be autism, but now it's depression. So depression is not like the gloomies. It's not like you have the sadness. No, depression is like, you don't really have any goals anymore. You're like, nothing makes you happy, nothing makes you smile. You don't feel a need to get out of bed. You just feel out of it, I guess, right? It's kind of like not having a drive. Like, you don't feel the drive to do anything. And there's several stages of it. I mean, there's different situations, right? Like, there is a normal amount of depression, like if you can consider it as such, that people experience as they grow. Like the music you liked when you were a kid, you don't enjoy anymore. The cartoons you liked when you were a kid, you don't find them entertaining anymore. The friends you had when you were a kid, you don't find them interesting, you find them cringe, right? And this happens as you grow older. So like there is a normal kind of non-pathological depression that everyone gets through. Um, but if it starts interfering with your social life, like if you're so depressed that you don't have the energy, and when you're going at work, you're messing things up, and like you just don't want to be around other people anymore. Okay, so that's when it becomes pathological. And then there's different stages of it. So you have like the first stage, which is like mild depression, but it can go even to dark places when you start having dark thoughts and whatever, and that's when people should have sought help by that point. Um, Sounds like midlife crisis, but most people have like midlife crisis. This is something that like it's something that exists in most people, and then you just put words for it to describe it. But yes, it is like a midlife crisis in a way. And for some people, it's worse than others. Like for some people, they can lose hair, they can lose their sex drive. Like it can manifest a lot more dramatic than in other people. Imposter syndrome, like a lot of these things, like imposter syndrome, like wanting to be better at your job. Like, the thing with psychiatry, you'll notice that, take autism, for instance. There are many people diagnosed with autism today that if you had a time machine and sent them 20 years in the past, they wouldn't be diagnosed. And that's because the criteria for the illness has expanded. So, same thing with ADHD, right? Like, you can take a child that is diagnosed with ADHD, like not all, but like some of them, and you send them into the past 20 years, and the same psychiatrist will tell them they're normal. Like, it's getting to the point what I don't think, like, there is a person that's considered to not have any mental illnesses whatsoever, right? Because, like, if you go to a psychiatrist and they will start asking you things, eventually they will diagnose you with some shit. I'm not even kidding, because I've been through med school. I know how it works. Like, it's not possible, in my opinion, to find a person that's not with at least one mental disability. And there's many reasons for that. But basically, the way that I consider is you actually have a problem when it affects your social life. Right? So, for example, masturbation. Like, everyone jerks off. But if you jerk off so many times to the point where you're missing school or your pee-pee hurts or whatever, well, that's when it becomes pathological. Eating disorder, right? So like everyone eats, like you have to eat. But if you're eating so much that it interferes with your social life, well, that's when it becomes a problem. Well, that's how I would categorize actual pathologies versus, I guess, more like a Western way of viewing medicine, where it's like, oh, well, if you have these symptoms, then clearly. Depressed, time for a trip to Fiji. She went to fucking Fiji. Yeah. They become vegan because they are depressed. I also think it's like, look, when you have a mental illness that becomes pop culturalized, right? Like, no one pop culturalizes bipolar disorder, or maybe some people do. Hallucinations. All right, like auditory hallucination. No one popularizes that shit, right? Like you don't see it like being trendy to have it. You don't see it like being like have awareness campaigns about it, right? Like, but there are people who have hallucinations. They hallucinate shit. Now, when you have a mental illness which is popularized, autism, depression right now, right? You're going to see a lot more people, at least trying to get diagnosed with the problem in order to get social media points. It's like, oh, well, this horrible thing is happening. Look, I have it. It was kind of like at the beginning of the pandemic, there were certain forums where you would have women who would claim, my son got COVID or something like that. And the only reason that they would do it, and like I know because I spoke with some of them, was to actually get everyone being like, oh my god, oh that's so sad, oh I hope you're alright. And they actually enjoy the attention. But it is what it is, you know, it's a human thing, I believe. Yeah, it's kind of like poor me, you know, like give me cuddles, like notice. So when you have these things that are very pop culturalized, it's very difficult to say how many people genuinely suffer, especially when it's not something that you can prove objectively, right? Because like mental illnesses, unlike other illnesses, are very difficult to prove with an objective thing. Like if someone has a bruise, right? Like that's objective. Everyone can see it. It's like there's a bruise. But when someone has a mental illness, how do you show that objectively? Right? I mean, it's a lot more difficult. So in the case of vegans who do it because like they want to be virtuous and they want to show to others how much they care and how compassionate they are in order to get attention, right? To show that they're good people. The study may also show that there's an overlap between other people who, you know, like try their best in order to get diagnosed with like, oh, well, because it's the pop culture thing now. So it's like, oh, I'm also depressed. Glow in the dark, people want quick solutions for problems. Give me drugs, say I have a problem so I can feel validated for my misery. There are so many fucking people that do this, and it's such a big mistake in my opinion, right? Like there's people who, like if you go to a psychiatrist and you know what to say, he will probably give you happy pills, but I would definitely discourage people from doing that. Right? Like only do it in the last resort. Like first try changing your lifestyle, try doing some exercise, some sports, eating healthy, like try doing those things. And then if nothing works, go to a psychiatrist, and even then, you know, like try to get some counseling. And then if the psychiatrist says, all right, well, nothing works, let's give you pills. Fine. But don't just go and take the happy pill, because I've seen cases. You know, like the thing is like the organism, like your body gets adjusted to the happy pill, and then you become depressed again, but you need to still take the happy pill in order to maintain that, because if you stop taking the happy pill, then you get more depressed than you were before, so it's not a good solution. I feel rich today, I'm 47 and unemployed, but I have much more than 40 years ago because it didn't exist. I do a lot, I live alone, I'm vegan and I'm happy. Well, Richard, why are you giving me money if you're unemployed? Richard, you need to keep your money in order to buy your vegetables, Richard. Jesus. I do appreciate the donation, but Richard, if money doesn't come in, don't make them go out towards me. You know, make them go out towards the spinach or whatever. Man, you know, like that's actually an interesting thing. People used to eat spinach just because of Popeye the Sailor Man. Yeah, that was such a good vegetable propaganda. Because it's very difficult to get kids to eat the spinach. Whatever. Of course I fucking care about my subscribers. Like, you guys are the reason that I'm here. If it wasn't... So I want you guys to be happy. That's my purpose in life, to entertain you. Not kidding, it's my job. I take pleasure in my job, unlike other people. So if I can entertain people, I'm happy. And if you guys give me the money that you're going to run out of, then it's not going to make you happy. It's going to make you very sad. So, anyway, yeah, he eats his spinach. I will have to go now, because I got 2 more videos to make on my secondary channel with the Trollolol. And thank you for watching. I don't know if this was as entertaining as it could have been. Take into account that nothing that I say here is scientific. I just found it interesting that immediately journalists tried to debunk the study. And I also tried to find out if there is a reason to overlap depression with veganism. Basically, like nothing that has to do with veganism. Like people would be depressed even without the veganism. That's what I tried to see. You know, if there's like external factors. Anyway, right? Thank you guys, and I'll see you later.